Just when she was ready to close the cafe, a surprising encounter with a lonely CO changed everything. Emma wiped her brow, the menacing shadows of the evening stretching across her empty cafe. The faint smell of burnt coffee clung to the air, the ghost of a busier time. Each table, meant to gather friends and laughter, was now just a reminder of her declining dreams. For the last few years she had poured her heart into this little corner of the world, bringing in fresh baked pastries and steaming lattes while working tirelessly to balance motherhood and work. Yet, as a single mom to her adorable 7-year-old, Willow, every empty chair echoed her impending defeat. Just as she was ready to accept the fate of closing the cafe, the bell above the door jingled, a tiny spark in her stagnant world. A man strode in. He had the look of a corporate warrior, dressed sharply but emanating a palpable loneliness, an aura that matched her own weariness. He sat down, exhaling like someone escaping the weight of his daily grind. "Just coffee, please," he said, his voice heavy with exhaustion. Emma poured it with a shaking hand, a mix of fear and curiosity gripping her heart. They started to talk, initially about the weather and the best local spots, yet the conversation wandered into deeper realms of ambition, aspirations lost in the grind. Emma hesitated, feeling an unfamiliar connection as he spoke. Here was a man wrestling with a different kind of burden, the pressures of corporate life. It was refreshing to hear someone else's struggles amid her own, yet the thrill of companionship was soon shadowed by the growing dread in the pit of her stomach. Why was this man in her cafe? Was their laughter a temporary balm to her wounds or a distraction from the storm that threatened to close the very doors he walked through? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The winds of change rustled outside, but inside, Emma felt a flicker of hope. Alex, he introduced himself as, seemed fascinated by the authenticity of her cafe. For a brief moment, she saw past the polished mask he wore, recognizing a kindred spirit seeking solace. But as their laughter danced in the warmth of the cafe, the shadows crept closer, reminding her of the impending threat. She couldn't ignore the gnawing truth. Alex's company was among those conspiring to acquire local businesses, her beloved cafe included in the deadly stakes. Her heart raced with the weight of her newfound revelation. Could their connection be real? Was he merely another cog in the machine that sought to bulldoze her dreams? Distrust coiled tightly around her chest, tightening with each moment. She wanted to confront him, to dive into the darkness of uncertainty, yet her heart hesitated. The warmth of their banter felt both invigorating and suffocating. As she looked into his eyes, those mirrors of understanding and desperation, Emma was acutely aware of the precipice upon which she teetered. Would she sacrifice her legacy, her cafe, for a chance at a connection with a man who represented everything she loathed? The door swung open again, a trio of familiar faces brightening the somber air with warmth. Laughter erupted, drowning in her thoughts. Emma's resolve wavered. She took a deep breath, aware of the stakes. Just then, Alex leaned in, his voice low and earnest, saying something that could shatter the fragile essence of her newfound hope. The air thickened with choice and uncertainty, as every second felt like an age in this defining moment, leaving Emma to question everything. What path awaited her in this labyrinth of ambition and loyalty? Emma's mind raced, caught in a tempest of conflicting emotions. The shadows of doubt loomed larger as Alex leaned closer, his eyes filled with urgency. "Emma, I don't want you to think I'm here for the business," he implored, his voice a mixture of frustration and sincerity. "This cafe, your craft, your dreams, this place matters. It means something." Yet his words felt like a double-edged sword, slicing through her hope and fear in equal measure. How could she trust him? The very essence of her livelihood hinged on the decisions made in boardrooms where he likely held sway. "Why are you here then?" she challenged, her voice tightening. "What does this cafe mean to you, really?" The question hung between them, electric and heavy. She didn't care to mask the vulnerability that tremored beneath her skin, every insecurity laid bare under the weight of his scrutiny. Alex's defenses appeared to crumble as he searched her gaze, clearly aware of the stakes for both of them. "I see you, Emma," he replied softly, almost reverently. "Not just the cafe owner, but the mother, the woman who pours her soul into everything she does. That's why I came." His admission unnerved her. Raw honesty was foreign in the polished world he belonged to. But deep within her, something ignited a flicker of the ambition she had almost extinguished. With each second that passed, she recognized a reckoning blossoming within her. "This cafe is my life," she asserted, her voice steadying as determination started to take root. "But if you're a part of the plan to shut it down, I won't hesitate to fight it." A silence settled over them. Alex's expression hardened, but there was an underlying current of respect. "I didn't come here to tear you down. In fact, I've been thinking about what it means to truly invest in something meaningful, and honestly, it starts with our community, doesn't it?" Emma looked away, heart pounding. The weight of his words spiraled into newfound revelations about her own priorities. Was her cafe merely a business, or a catalyst for the kind of community she wanted for Willow? Memories of laughter and the joy of baking flooded her mind, instilling a fierce sense of purpose. She possessed the power to redefine failure, a clean slate from which she could emerge resilient. Willow's delighted giggle echoed in her heart as she visualized the cafe bustling with life, not just as her haven, but as a cherished spot for neighbors, friends, and families. "Investing in community shouldn't come from greed," Emma finally said, her lips turning upwards slightly as her resolve firmed. "It should nourish it, uplift it." The sincerity in her voice deeply resonated with Alex, a spark of understanding lighting up his eyes. "What if we work together?" he suggested, his tone now brimming with possibility. "This could be an opportunity to redefine not just your cafe, but how business impacts lives." Emma's heart raced again. This wasn't just a proposition, it was a chance to foster her dream in ways she had never imagined, to face the corporate world not with her defenses up, but as a collaborator. Yet still there was a nagging trepidation. Could she trust him enough to take that leap? As she navigated the landscape of her emotions, a wall within her began to crumble. But loyalty to her principles and the fear of betrayal by the man who represented her potential demise challenged her inclination toward collaboration. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the door swung open again, and the piercing laughter of the trio who had entered earlier brought her back to the present. In that unexpected moment, she found herself staring into the eyes of possibility and deception, a crossroads of collaboration and ambition mixed with personal integrity. Every heartbeat seemed to echo the question that would shape her reality. Could she forge a path forward without losing herself in the process? The tension in the air thickened as she held Alex's gaze, waiting for a response that would either cement their alliance or reveal the ultimate truth behind his presence. Would she take a chance on this unfamiliar partnership, even at the risk of everything she held dear? As she deliberated, she felt the thrill of uncertainty, the kind that could transform her cafe from a fading dream into a vibrant reality, or lead to its total annihilation. Emma took a breath, aware that the choice she was about to make would not only define the future of her cafe but forge the connections she desperately needed. And as she poised on the brink of this decision, a small note slipped from her apron pocket, gently fluttering to the floor, the note she had forgetfully tucked away weeks ago. The words penned inside made her heart skip a beat, whispering of a revelation yet to unfold. With her thoughts racing and time dwindling, the cafe felt alive around her, reflecting the chaos and potential that lay ahead. Just then, laughter erupted anew, and through the window, she saw familiar faces starting to gather, reminders of community and warmth. The moment of truth loomed closer, and Emma realized she had to act fast before danger lurked too close for comfort. Would she embrace this new trajectory into the unknown? The note lay on the tiled floor, crumpled and forgotten. Emma's heartbeat quickened as she bent down to retrieve it, the anticipation coiling tightly in her chest. It was a reminder of unresolved feelings and ambitions. As her fingers grazed the paper, she couldn't ignore the irony of this moment. Here she was, poised on the brink of a life-altering decision, while a decision from the past tried to claw its way back in. Carefully unfolding the note, she recognized her own handwriting, an exercise in self-reflection she had hastily scribbled down during an especially long night after Willow had fallen asleep. It detailed her aspirations, the kind of café she envisioned, infused with warmth and knowledge-sharing, a hub of creation rather than mere consumption. It encapsulated the very essence of why she had started this journey amidst flour and sugar, each word a whisper of her ambitions. Investing in community shouldn't come from greed, she had written, but instead from passion. Emma squeezed her eyes shut, the weight of that thought returning to her with clarity. If she wanted to cultivate something meaningful, she had to be true to that vision. Just then, Alex's voice broke through her thoughts, grounding her back in the fragile reality of the cafe filled with the lively chatter of customers. She glanced up moments before he spoke again. "Emma, are you okay?" The concern in his tone was genuine, yet uncertainty lingered in the air, thickening the tension between them. "I have a lot on my mind," she confessed, voice softer now. The vulnerability of the past few moments melted away that cold barrier she had built. "Maybe we could start fresh?" he suggested. "Let us find a way to align our goals. Talk it through like business partners. I promise you, I don't intend on jeopardizing what you've built here." Emma sensed his sincerity, but the question loomed: could she transform her fear into trust? This was the critical juncture where ideals clashed with the harsh realities of survival, both personally and professionally. Taking a deep breath, she considered her next steps incredibly carefully. "Okay, let us explore this potential partnership, but on my terms," she said, her voice steady now. Her resolve solidified like dough kneaded until smooth. "I want you to understand the heart that beats behind this cafe, my heart. If you can commit to that, maybe we can see where this road takes us." Alex nodded, no trace of the cockiness she had expected from someone of his stature. "I appreciate that," he replied earnestly, and in that instant she felt a shift. Emma envisioned the cafe thriving not just as a space for coffee, but as a sanctuary for ideas, dreams, and empathy. She envisioned a menu where every dish told a story, crafted with love and intent. It sparked an idea. She could host nights that showcased local artists, invite the community to share their voices. Those unfamiliar faces now swirling around the room could become allies, friends, partners, and adding vibrancy to Willow. "What if we start by hosting open mic nights?" she blurted out, emboldened by the growing momentum. It turned the cafe into a canvas, where everyone could contribute their stories: music, poetry, art. We could rotate different themes every week. Alex's face lit up, the prospect igniting a fire in his eyes. "Now that's something I can get behind. It'll bring people in, spark conversations," but beneath that excitement, Emma felt a warning tug at her. Was she getting swept away in idealism again? Even in this moment of agreement, she felt shadows of hesitance loom. Yet with every heartbeat, faith in herself grew. If she could align her dreams and Alex's business acumen, maybe she could transform her cafe into something more than just a struggle for survival. Perhaps this could be a genuine partnership where dreams were actualized instead of surrendered. As they started bouncing ideas off each other, Emma felt her worries begin to dissipate, replaced by a rejuvenation spurred by potential collaboration. But intertwined with that new ambition, a nagging fear remained. Would she be able to hold true to her vision amidst the encroaching influence of an industry that thrived on profit? The door swung open, and in walked a customer from the past, someone who had been pivotal in her early success, a local chef known for his innovative cuisine. He caught sight of Emma, his expression delighting in recognition. "Emma?" he exclaimed, rushing toward her, oblivious to the conversation. "I've been meaning to ask you, are you still up for that collaboration we talked about months ago?" She exchanged glances with Alex, tension crackling anew. This unexpected reunion raised questions of loyalty and ambition, leaving her at yet another crossroads. What direction would she choose, and how far was she willing to stretch her principles for a chance at revitalizing her cafe? Emma felt the ember of her resolve flicker brightly, urging her to face the conundrum head-on. The future of the cafe was at stake once more. How would she navigate this landscape of collaboration and competition? A choice was imminent, and its repercussions could reshape not only her cafe but her identity. Ready or not, Emma knew the next step must tread carefully into the world beyond her safe haven of flour and coffee. Emma's mind raced as she faced the chef, his enthusiasm both a comfort and a challenge. "This is unexpected," she said, forcing a smile. The moment she had longed for, a collaboration with an established chef, was suddenly here. But the weight of her conversation with Alex hovered close, a constant reminder of the delicate balance she was negotiating. "We had talked about launching a special menu together," he reminded her, his eyes gleaming with possibilities. Emma could almost feel her heart quickening at the thought of the culinary creations they could dream up. Yet her conversation with Alex burned in the back of her mind, thick with implications and uncertainty. "We can absolutely discuss that," she replied, trying to sound enthusiastic while keeping her tone measured. "But I need to be upfront. My focus right now is the cafe and some new initiatives we're planning." She glanced over at Alex, who stood observing quietly with arms crossed, a look of focused interest gracing his features. He had positioned himself strategically as a potential ally, a business partner who was ready to forge ahead on a clear path. But here, with the chef, there was history, a connection that felt nostalgic and yet fraught with complications. "What initiatives?" the chef inquired, clearly intrigued. Emma took a deep breath, trying to shape a vision from the swirl of thoughts in her mind. "We're thinking of hosting events, like open mic nights, to engage the community creatively. It's about crafting a more vibrant atmosphere." "Sounds like a great idea!" he exclaimed, and for a brief moment, Emma felt the thrill of new possibilities unfurl within her. But the tension from Alex's presence ground that exhilaration to a halt. How could she pursue this appealing route while honoring the commitment she had just made to Alex? Each idea spun around, creating an internal storm. "Well, imagine if we could also feature a tasting menu with your night events," the chef offered, leaning in, his enthusiasm infectious. The way he dissected options felt reminiscent of brainstorming sessions from earlier years, igniting her creative spark once more. Yet a flurry of questions surged through her. Loyalty and vision clashed momentarily. Emma's heart raced as she contemplated the opportunity. If she moved forward with this collaboration, would it compromise the budding partnership with Alex? The choice tugged at her in conflicting directions, two paths diverging ahead. "Maybe we can collaborate on the tasting menu and the open mic nights," she proposed, testing the waters while observing the interplay between Alex and the chef. "If we focus on integrating both concepts, we could make it a unique experience." The chef's face lit up, but Emma's eyes shifted back to Alex, whose expression had darkened slightly. The supportive partner she had envisioned, the one ready to build something together, now bore a hint of uncertainty. Then she heard a soft voice, small and tentative. "Mom?" Willow peeked through the cafe entrance, clutching a worn-out stuffed animal, her presence a reminder of why Emma had poured so much into this dream. Emma knelt to embrace her daughter, grounding herself in the love and responsibility that anchored her. "Hey, sweetie! Just talking about some fun ideas for the cafe," she said, looking up at both men, gauging their reactions. The warmth of their rivalry, an ongoing balance of ambition and principles, became more palpable in the presence of her child. "Why don't we have some treats ready for everyone when they come for the open mic?" Willow suggested, her innocence reframing the discussion to one of joy and excitement. Emma suddenly realized that her ambitions shouldn't veer from the heart of the cafe, which was all about bringing people together. Perhaps the successful integration of both partnerships could enrich that promise. She felt the tension in the room shift, renewed resolve blooming within her. By allowing herself to explore this unexpected opportunity with the chef while asserting her core vision with Alex, she was reclaiming her agency. "Let us talk more about this collaboration," she said firmly, stealing one last glance at Alex. "But we need to ensure that everything aligns with the cafe's identity." The warmth in her stomach blended with the underlying current of pressure. She hadn't just chosen a direction, but reaffirmed her commitment to her values. But as the conversations continued and excitement simmered, a doubt nagged at her. Would she have the strength to steer her vision against the starry-eyed optimism of others? Would loyalties fracture when confrontations arose? Or could this be an avenue for authentic growth? As she contemplated these questions, a string of customers entered, their chatter and laughter filling the cafe, the world beginning anew. Lost in the swirl of interactions, Emma felt a visceral knot of apprehension. In this evolving landscape, Emma knew she was at the brink of something far greater than she had anticipated. But would she be able to align her partner's passions with her own and protect her vision, or discover the harsh cost of compromise in the process? The door swung open again, bringing with it the sound of familiar laughter. A group of local artists Emma recognized. Her pulse quickened, and she knew the stakes had just been raised. The next chapter of her cafe's story was about to unfold. How would she balance the unforeseen twists of partnership with her unyielding commitment to her dream? Emma stood back, watching as the vibrant group of artists entered the cafe, their energy flowing like an electric pulse through the room. The anticipation of new opportunities mingled with the weight of her earlier decisions, thickening the air around her. She couldn't lose sight of her purpose, yet the surge of creativity offered by the chef felt intoxicating. "Hey, Emma! We heard you're planning open mic nights," one of the artists, a tall woman with colorful braids, exclaimed as she approached. "We'd love to perform." Emma managed a smile, feeling the warmth of their enthusiasm. "Absolutely. We're just in the early stages, but the more people get involved, the better." Each commitment she secured left her feeling bolstered but also exposed, as if she were inviting waves of responsibility to crash onto her carefully crafted vision. "Great! We'll brainstorm ideas and get back to you," said the artist, her eyes gleaming with passion. As they drifted back to their group, Emma turned to face the chef and Alex, both watching her with expressions that varied wildly, one brimming with support, the other assessing. The moment forced Emma to acknowledge the dual forces at play: her desire to foster community, and the looming necessity of aligning her interests with those of her partners. "See? This is what I mean." Emma gestured towards the lively table. "Community engagement can build the cafe's identity and attract new customers." Alex's brow furrowed in skepticism. "But are you sure you're ready to balance all of that? The tasting menu, too? It might dilute your focus." His practical concerns struck a nerve, making her momentarily second-guess her instincts. But she couldn't dismiss the insight that had prompted her earlier resolution. "No," Emma countered with determination, "it wouldn't dilute our identity. It would enrich it. This is my chance to make the cafe a destination, a nexus for creativity." The chef nodded in agreement, flipping a notepad to scribble down his thoughts. "Exactly. Let us schedule more brainstorming sessions and work towards something that encapsulates both food and art. It'll draw a crowd and keep them coming back." Emma felt a surge of adrenaline. That was it, concrete plans. But then suspicion flashed in her mind. Was she stepping into a trap of overcommitment? The stakes felt uniquely high, each trade-off possibly cutting across her very essence. Could she navigate the influence of others without losing herself in the process? With every engagement, her role as a leader became clearer yet more daunting. Her heart tugged at the thought of Willow's innocent suggestions. They were gems that anchored Emma's decisions. She could not let her aspirations overshadow her responsibility to her daughter. As she listened to the ideas flowing between the chef and Alex, Emma's focus shifted inward. She began to question not only her commitment to each of them but to her own instincts. How could she forge ahead without compromising her principles? Every moment demanded that she not just act but assert her vision boldly. "Let us set a timeline," Emma declared, feeling the weight of authority in her voice. "We'll develop the tasting menu, tie it in with the artist performances, and launch everything in stages. If we create it as one cohesive experience, it builds anticipation and maintains the cafe's integrity. This can't just be an event, it has to be a revival." Alex's expression softened slightly, and she caught a glimmer of understanding. The chef's enthusiasm only seemed to heighten. Emma felt the flicker of hope spark within. Perhaps they could align their efforts without her losing her grip on the cafe's soul. Minutes faded into discussions of logistics and opportunities, but underneath the surface, Emma sensed an unseen fissure widening, one where her loyalty and ambition could clash brutally. As the evening deepened and the contributors departed, she felt the satisfaction of progress mingled with uncertainty. She retreated to a quiet corner, pulling out her notes to reflect. The lines on the pages blended with her thoughts, creating a maze of possibilities. So much hinged on her next steps, the weight of her decisions nearly suffocating. She needed to confront this growing doubt, yet it felt dangerously close, lurking at the edge of her consciousness. What if everything spiraled beyond her control, each collaborative decision pulling her further from the heart of her cafe? A noise outside caught her attention as she watched the last group of artists linger on the sidewalk, their silhouettes framed against the dimming light. Something in their laughter felt dissonant with her concerns, like echoes of freedom that she sought but hadn't yet claimed for herself. Hadn't the cafe always been about embracing joy within structure? How would she cultivate growth if she didn't first explore avenues that challenged her, that forced her to evolve? Suddenly, she spotted a figure walking toward her through the cafe's haze, a man she hadn't seen in ages but recognized instantly, a former colleague, a CEO whose path had diverged sharply from hers. The universe felt like it had shifted again. What did he want? Would this reunion hold another unpredictable twist in her already complex narrative? Emma held her breath, approaching the crossroads she had yet to navigate. The cafe felt alive even in the low light, shadows weaving through the delicate sounds of clinking cups and hushed conversations. Emma's heart raced as she recognized the figure approaching. Desmond, a former executive she had once looked up to, held an air of quiet confidence, but now wore an expression of mild curiosity, layered with something darker. "Emma," he greeted, his voice smooth but laced with an underlying tension. "It's been a while." She forced herself to match his smile, though it felt tight, mechanical. "Desmond, what brings you here?" "I was in the area, and you popped into my mind," he said, his gaze drifting to the artistic pieces hanging on the cafe walls. "I've heard interesting things about your venture." The compliment felt oddly charged. Emma was aware of the weight of his words, how they cut through her uncertainty like a knife. Still, the familiar blend of aspiration and intimidation flooded her system. She needed clarity, not flattery. "Thank you? We're still finding our footing." He nodded, assessing her, as if weighing her potential against his own standards. "You seem to be doing well. I must admit, I didn't expect you to open your own place." Emma caught the challenge in his voice. Was he implying she'd had more to gain than simply a new direction? She straightened her shoulders, determined not to waver. "I didn't expect it either, to be honest. But it's been a journey, a personal and professional one." Desmond stepped closer, the intensity of his focus drawing her in. "And how has that been? Balancing everything? Passion, responsibility, the weight of expectations?" His questions probed deeper, making her reconsider how she projected her confidence. With every answer she gave, she revealed a piece of herself, but it felt exhilarating. "It's about synergy, I guess. I'm trying to create something that's meaningful not just for myself but for the people who come through the door. I don't want to lose that authenticity as I expand." A flicker of respect passed over his features. "Tricky balance, isn't it? Often, I found that ambitions can cloud our visions. I've seen many dive headfirst into growth and lose sight of what made them special." Emma's breath caught, a tension constricting her chest. Did he see her doubts as clearly as she did? She searched his face for more insight but found only shadowed depths of experience. "That's why I'm trying to establish a structure. To grow, but to grow wisely." Structure. Desmond's tone shifted from contemplative to predatory, his lips curling with a newfound excitement. "Interesting choice of word. But do you think your structure can withstand external pressures?" That question struck a nerve, and Emma felt the familiar uncertainty push its way back to the forefront of her mind. Could it? Thoughts of Alex's skepticism bubbled up, the worry of overextending, the fear of losing her vision. "It's healthy to challenge the status quo," she replied, trying to reclaim her footing. "I want the cafe to be a reflection of creative growth, sustainable growth." Desmond studied her closely, a spark of agreement flickering behind his calculating gaze. "Sustainable, yes, but at what cost?" Growth often comes with sacrifices. Emma's heart raced as she grappled with the implications behind his words. Were sacrifices inevitable for her path forward? Would she have to choose between her aspirations and the essence of her café? I refuse to be defined by sacrifice, she asserted, surprised by her own fervor. This café is meant to be a celebration, not a compromise. His laughter echoed softly, ironically. A noble ideal, Emma. But let us not fool ourselves. Every journey has its darker twists, and you'll be tested sooner than you think. She gritted her teeth, her pulse quickening. Desmond's presence ignited a deeper conflict inside her. Could she truly hold her ground against the inevitable challenges ahead? This conversation wasn't merely an encounter. It was a prelude to the tests she'd face in maintaining her values and vision. Her mind raced, threading through various scenarios of failure and success. Revelations pulsing like the café's vibrant heartbeat. I'll face those challenges head-on, she stated, her determination solidifying. I'll find a way to make this work. Desmond's expression softened momentarily as if he too felt the momentum of ambition in the air. Then perhaps it's time we discuss how I could assist you provide an edge, if you're open to it. Emma recoiled instinctively, aware that in those words lay the potential for disruption, a dangerous allure masked as promise. Did she want his assistance, or did that risk hijacking her vision completely? A choice loomed over her, a dance between opportunity and the preservation of self. As their discussion continued, the stakes became palpable. Each word exchanged pulsated with implications, threatening to propel her forward but also casting shadows of doubt. Emma needed to find a way to navigate this precarious path, redefine her commitment, and confront the possibility of losing herself in the process. The café grew quiet around her, a silence teetering on the brink of decision. Desmond leaned closer, drawing her into his orbit, and Emma sensed the storm ahead where clarity must emerge through trial, and the very foundation of her dreams would be tested. And just as she gathered the courage to respond, the café door flew open, bringing in a rush of cold air and a fresh wave of customers' reminders of her purpose. Uncertainty flickered inside her as she prepared to meet Desmond's challenge with a newfound resolve. But could she disengage from the storm brewing between ambition and loyalty? She took a deep breath, preparing to assert herself once and for all. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the moment stretch like taut wire between them. Desmond's charged gaze lingered, as if he could unravel her convictions with just a few more words. The air around her buzzed with ambition and doubt, and with each passing second, she felt the weight of his expectations pressing down harder than before. I appreciate your interest, Desmond, she said finally, steadying her voice. But I have a clear vision for this café, and I worry that bringing in outside influence might dilute that. He raised an eyebrow, the slight smirk returning as if he found her hesitance amusing. Dilute? Or enhance? Vision is vital, but sometimes it needs a boost from those with experience. It seems you're caught in a typical entrepreneur's trap, wanting to control every aspect while trying to reach for more. Emma bit her lip. Did he truly understand her struggle, or was he simply dismissing her hard-earned insights? Her focus shifted to the customers entering the café, the diverse faces that reflected her aspirations and dedication. They didn't just come for coffee, they came for the sense of community she decultivated here. I'm not a control freak, she countered, the heat of her words surprising her. I'm protective of what I've built. The essence of this place is what makes it valuable. Desmond's eyes glinted with intrigue. And yet, are you single-handedly prepared to take on every challenge? Because they will come. Competition is fiercer than ever, and innovation is the name of the game. Her heart raced again, this time dancing between anxiety and determination. She had thought about competition already, analyzing market trends, but hearing it from him sharpened those lingering fears. What if she wasn't enough? Yes, I know this. But I also refuse to cut corners. The connections I'm building, those matter more than shallow growth, Emma said, forcing an edge into her tone. Those connections won't save you when the lights dim. You'll need to adapt or risk fading away. His voice was insistent, a melody threading intimidation with kindling inspiration. I get the sense you resent the idea of outside help, but remember, Even the most independent visionaries needed partners to turn visions into successful ventures. Suddenly, Desmond's South boldness sounded too close to a challenge, and Emma felt her back go straight. "Are you offering me a partnership, or trying to manipulate me?" He leaned back slightly, the subtle shift contrasting sharply with her burgeoning intensity. "Not manipulation, Emma, just a perspective. I believe in your potential. I wouldn't bother engaging otherwise. But you're at a crucial juncture, one that shapes your future." She sensed he was attempting to help, but in that moment, clarity turned foggy. Was Desmond's brand of help the sharp edge she needed to slice through her doubts, or was it a potential trap designed to kill her vision? Emma's thoughts swirled as she remained locked in his gaze. Part of her wanted to trust him, to welcome his experience as a lifeline, but a larger part insisted on standing firm. This was her café, her heartbeat at the center of creativity. She pivoted away from Desmond for a moment, taking stock of the walls lined with local art, the tables filled with laughter. There was something about that, a connection she could nurture and protect. "You're right about the pressures," she finally admitted, the words tumbling off her tongue. "But I want to sacrifice what makes this place special." Her voice was steady, filled with the determination that coursed through her veins, reinforcing her spirit. "I'm willing to learn and adapt, but not at the expense of authenticity. I believe that's what will ultimately make this cafe thrive." Desmond straightened, impressed. "You're stronger than I thought, Emma. But strength also lies in knowing when to enlist help. What if we explored some strategies together? You can set your terms, but you might benefit from an outside eye." Emma weighed his proposal, a mix of intrigue and apprehension igniting within. Could she collaborate without losing herself? Before she could respond, the cafe doors swung open again, bringing a gust of fresh air with an unexpected visitor. Alex, her business mentor and confidant, stepped inside, scanning the room until his eyes landed on her. The moment stood still. Emma felt the sudden jolt of uncertainty. She hadn't expected him today, and now, with Desmond's enticing but dangerous offer hanging between them, everything teetered on potential catastrophe or triumph. "Emma? There you are," Alex called, the warmth of his presence cutting through the suddenly dense air. As he approached, Emma sensed her resolve crumbling. Desmond's presence loomed like a storm cloud blocking the sun. Would Alex's arrival provide the clarity she desperately needed, or would it further complicate a decision that seemed to hang by a fragile thread? Her heart raced as she opened her mouth to speak, knowing that whatever came next would signal the beginning of her next chapter. The stakes were escalating, and she was about to confront the real crux of her aspirations. The door behind Alex swung shut, sealing out the outside world, as Emma's determination was about to be tested in ways she never imagined. Alex moved with an urgency that reflected his concern, eyes scanning Emma's face for the current storm brewing within her. "I didn't think I'd catch you here so early," he remarked lightly, but his brow furrowed when he caught sight of Desmond. The familiar ease in his demeanor faltered. Emma's heart dropped. This was not how she envisioned their meeting. "Alex," she hesitated, glancing between the two men whose conflicting energies felt like an electric charge in the air. "I was just discussing some ideas with Desmond." Desmond's features softened for a moment, pretending to be engrossed in the busy cafe atmosphere. But Emma felt the unspoken tension between them. Alex was assessing Desmond with every analytical fiber of his being. "A little early for business talks, isn't it?" Alex said, the lightness of his tone dissipating as he subtly challenged Desmond. It was a protective instinct, but it turned her stomach with an added weight. The three of them stood in a semicircle, an unintentional barrier forming. Emma felt the confidence she had mustered starting to unravel into a knot of uncertainty against their scrutinizing gaze. She needed to regain control not just of the conversation but of her own path moving forward. "I was considering Desmond's perspective on collaborating," she stated, her voice heavier with resolution. "It could be an opportunity to grow the cafe beyond its current potential." Her confidence sounded foreign even to her. Was that really how she felt, or was she trying to convince herself? Alex pursed his lips, his brows knitting together with concern. "Collaboration is a big step, Emma," especially with someone you've just met. What do you think this would look like? The question was layered, pressing Emma to articulate her vision more clearly than she ever had. Taking a deep breath, she stood taller. I get that I can't do everything alone, but she wanted to voice her frustrations, to articulate the casting shadows of doubt that Desmond had ignited earlier. I don't want to lose the heart of what I built. The cafe has become a refuge for so many people. Desmond's expression shifted, transforming admiration into intrigue. See, that's it, Emma. You're thinking strategically about your operations. You've established that emotional connection, and it can be the foundation for expansion if you're open to the right guidance. Guidance or control? Alex interjected, pulling Emma's attention back. Collaboration doesn't have to mean relinquishing your vision. But the right partnership can propel you forward if it complements your goals. Emma considered this, the last clinging threads of hesitance slowly stitching together a tapestry of conviction. This was a turning point. The challenge embedded in their voices mirrored her internal conflict. She could forge ahead but required a blend of tenacity and flexibility. What if we set clear boundaries? She suggested, surprising even herself with the maturity of her proposal. I'm willing to learn and grow, but my cafe's essence must remain intact. Desmond's expression turned thoughtful. That sounds reasonable, an arrangement that empowers you to safeguard your authenticity while also allowing for exploration and innovation. Encouraged, Emma felt a tinge of excitement intermingle with her anxiety. I want to strike that balance. It's not about losing myself but about expanding my capabilities. Balancing ambition with authenticity, Alex echoed, his voice calming. That's a worthwhile venture, but I do want to be involved in any discussions moving forward. You need established allies in this. Emma's mind raced at the prospect of involving Alex in these potential negotiations. His support could sharpen her edge, providing the mentorship she'd always valued. But did it also mean being overshadowed? Could she navigate the uncharted waters of collaboration without drowning in the influence of others? The moment hung thick with anticipation. What felt like an enticing opportunity now bore an undeniable weight. They were at a precipice, and the decision to leap could mean the difference between soaring into a new realm or falling into a trap. All right, let us see what this could look like, she finally said, sealing her determination with a nod, though a twinge of doubt simmered within. Did she truly have the strength to navigate this all without losing herself? Just then, a familiar rhythmic clinking rang through the cafe as the door swung open once more. The curious sight of a man in an immaculate suit captured their attention, an unexpected presence that stirred intrigue and uncertainty. Emma caught sight of his keen gaze sweeping over the cafe like a hawk assessing its territory, another player stepping into the fray. Would this new face represent opportunity or complexity? As they turned to greet him, the stakes continued to rise, urging Emma to confront the heart of her aspirations in a rapidly changing landscape. What awaited her now felt like both a chance to thrive and a test of her very core. The man strode across the cafe with an air of purpose that momentarily captivated Emma. Dressed impeccably, his tailored suit exuded confidence, yet his eyes held a glimmer of vulnerability, an unexpected contrast that piqued her interest. He stopped at their table, his expression shifting from neutrality to one of warm curiosity. Mind if I join you? He asked, glancing from Emma to Alex, then Desmond. Emma felt a magnetic pull toward him. She sensed there was more beneath the surface of this suave exterior. Of course, she answered, a note of enthusiasm slipping into her voice. Perhaps this was the infusion of clarity they all needed. As he settled into the fourth chair, he introduced himself. I'm Nathan, just passing through and couldn't resist the aroma wafting from this place. A brief smile curled at the corners of his mouth before he turned to Emma. I overheard your discussion on collaboration. It sounds quite intriguing. Emma felt a rush of excitement at being recognized in a professional dialogue. Actually, I was considering a partnership to expand the cafe while safeguarding its core values. You're on to something powerful, I can tell, Nathan replied, his gaze steady and appreciative. Balancing growth with authenticity is challenging but crucial. In my experience, it's often the heartbeat of any lasting venture. His words resonated deeply within Emma. Here was someone speaking her language, someone who understood the weight of her ambitions. She leaned in, preparing to share her vision when a thought struck her. What qualified this newcomer to offer advice on a topic that felt so intimately connected to her identity? "Have you worked in food service before?" she inquired, crossing her arms defensively, a mixture of intrigue and skepticism bubbling within her. Nathan chuckled lightly, a sound that was both reassuring and disarming. "Not in food service, but I've been an investor in various startups, including a couple in the culinary world. I know the type of passion that drives success, and almost always its ultimatum: authenticity or growth." Emma shifted in her chair, mulling over his words. Perhaps he could offer networking opportunities or insights that Alex and Desmond couldn't. But she remained wary. Partnerships required an alignment in vision, and she wasn't ready to let her guard down completely. "Do you believe there's a way to grow while remaining true to what made the cafe special in the first place?" she pressed, her voice revealing more of her vulnerability than she intended. "Absolutely," Nathan said, excitement threading through his tone. "In fact, that's often the most appealing aspect for customers. Authenticity in branding attracts loyal patrons. The challenge is determining how far you're willing to stretch that brand without compromising its essence." The discussion fired up a spark of inspiration within Emma. Rather than merely reacting to the moment, she began considering how to harness this insight. What if I held a series of events that both highlighted local artists and featured unique menu items? It could engage the community while also elevating the cafe's profile. Nathan's eyes lit up. "Now we're talking. Events that showcase talent and new experiences can create buzz. But it's crucial these events reflect your soul. Without that, you risk diluting your brand." Emma almost didn't notice Alex's rigid posture beside her, or the way Desmond's lips pressed together in concentration. Instead, her focus sharpened on this conversation. The greater challenge was steering this newfound enthusiasm to her advantage while boldly asserting her direction. She needed to plan carefully, avoiding any pitfall that could arise from being swayed by ambitious suggestions. But just as her mind began swirling with ideas, she felt a familiar shadow descending. It was Alex, narrowing his eyes at Nathan. "It's great to explore new avenues, but we should also consider the practical implications of these ideas. Who's footing the bill for such expansions?" Emma cringed at the undercurrent of challenge lacing Alex's words. Each interaction felt like a balancing act between ambition and reality, between holding on to her vision and being swept away by promising opportunities. "I'll take that into account," she replied tightly, feeling a fresh wave of determination swell within her. "It's essential that any move we make is sustainable. I appreciate all thoughts and insights." The newcomer's interest turned back to her, and Emma sensed the energy shift, their thoughts densely layered with unspoken implications. Who was Nathan really, and what role would he play in the future she was meticulously crafting? With that thought, Emma's resolve tightened. Instinctively, she recognized that each conversation, every interaction, was a crucial piece in the puzzle she was piecing together. She needed to maximize her strengths while confronting the apprehensions lurking beneath her ambition. Nathan leaned closer, his voice dropping a notch as he spoke again. "If you want, I could assist you in outlining a strategy for these ideas. Let's turn vision into action." Emma felt empowered but also cautious. The allure of growth mingled with fears of losing sight of what mattered most. She had a decision to make: embracing change or resisting it to preserve her cafe's core. Just then, the cafe door swung open again, a gust of wind announcing another presence. Emma turned, already sensing an impending shift, as yet another figure entered the unknown, unpredictable consequence of her burgeoning network. Would this be a sign of opportunity or further complication? As the unexpected figure stepped forward, Emma's mind raced. What new layer would this add to the intricate process of her professional evolution? Emma stood at a pivotal crossroads, each new interaction amplifying the noise of ambition that echoed within her. The cafe, once a tranquil retreat, had morphed into a vibrant battleground of ideas, aspirations, and, at times, clashing interests. Nathan's casual offer of support sparked a flicker of excitement, but as she watched Alex and Desmond exchange glances, tension tightened around her like a vice. Clarity was desperately needed. "Okay, let us take stock of where we are," Emma said, her voice cutting through the rising tension. "This cafe is not just a business to me, it has to encapsulate the community's spirit, and I want partnerships that respect that. Collaborative growth is key, but I won't sacrifice my values." She could see Nathan nodding appreciatively, while Alex's apprehension remained palpable. How could she turn this whirlwind of ideas into a cohesive vision that served both her purpose and her partner's ambitions? Waves of urgency crashed over her. The last couple of years had been filled with reckless abandon, working tirelessly while struggling to balance her life as a single mother. Now, standing at this juncture, she had to embrace that lesson. True strength lay in collaboration, but only if it was anchored by mutual visions. "I'm willing to explore opportunities with Nathan," she announced, locking eyes with each of them, "but I want us to establish clear roles based on respect and shared goals." The cafe's energy seemed to hum in agreement. Emma felt her resolve harden like freshly baked bread. "Count me in," Nathan said, a broad smile breaking across his face as he assessed the moment. "Let us outline a strategic plan and develop these open mic nights and culinary events to drive foot traffic and build community connections." Emma's pulse quickened as his enthusiasm fueled her own. "I love that integrating local talent feels pivotal. And the tasting menu we discussed with the chef can mark the launch. I'll ensure it mirrors our values and celebrates the essence of this cafe." She turned to Alex, who had grown quiet. "I'd love your input as we shape this foundation, Alex. You've always had a strong understanding of what makes us unique." His brows relaxed slightly, and she felt a moment of connection bridge the gap that had widened with Desmond's arrival. Desmond, however, remained analytical, his eyes sharpening as he assessed their collective dynamic. "And I can offer insights on competition and market trends, a critical component if you want this to succeed," he chimed in, attempting to amend his initial challenge. Emma swallowed hard, hesitant but undeterred. "Your insights are welcomed, but remember, my vision isn't for sale. This cafe is about nurturing community threads, not catering corporately clean to trends." The assertiveness in her tone surprised her but felt essential. Suddenly, the notion of balance crystallized in her mind. She could leverage insights while cultivating her unique identity. Each perspective would contribute to the cafe's growth, but only as long as it remained true to her heart. As the conversation progressed, Emma found herself engaged in momentum, their thoughts weaving into a tapestry of collaborative potential. Excitement surged in her chest. Together, they could create sustainable growth that still honored the community's roots. They discussed frameworks, timetables, and thematic approaches for the upcoming events. With every idea, Emma's confidence expanded, solidifying her standing. She felt empowered in the face of potential distractions. She no longer saw Desmond and Nathan as threats but rather as allies, given they understood the cafe's significance. Eventually, they turned their discussion back to the foundation of what the cafe represented. With renewed clarity, she outlined what she desired: to host artists, engage patrons, craft special menus, and create a tangible culture of support and creativity within her walls. "Each event should reflect our ethos," Emma insisted, her tone now celebratory. "We want to connect, enrich, and cultivate not just customers but real relationships." "I appreciate your passion, Emma," Nathan interjected, eyes gleaming with interest. "If we can frame our strategy around that vision, we'll not only attract foot traffic but foster loyalty that will extend beyond these walls." As they further fleshed out their strategy, Emma sensed an underlying current of mutual respect cocooning the group, the once clashing ambitions beginning to harmonize. It was exhilarating and grounding, all at once a clear sign she was on the right path. Before the night drew to a close, Emma turned to her daughter, Willow, who had unwittingly become the bedrock of her motivation. With her presence softly illuminating the room, Emma realized her responsibilities intertwined her families both at home and within the cafe's community. "Let us make this cafe a place of welcome, a home for dreams, art, and the unexpected joy of creation," Emma concluded, her heart expanding with this newfound vision of collective joy. The cafe felt transformed, thicker with possibility. As the team parted ways, Emma carried within her a sense of assurance that she hadn't experienced in years, a belief not only in herself but in the partnerships she had nurtured. No more second-guessing, she whispered, a light smile tracing her lips as she locked the cafe doors behind her. In the weeks that followed, the open mic nights blossomed into artistic showcases that drew crowds. The energy shifted from mere survival to thriving, engulfing her in a tapestry of creativity and connection. Emma found herself not only transforming her cafe but also her self-identity, one rooted in action and collaboration. With each success, she felt an unmistakable pride, a readiness to advocate for her vision and the community she so cherished. Reflecting on how far she had come, Emma realized she had conquered her fears and doubts. The cafe had become more than a rebuilding project. It had transformed into a sanctuary for creativity, a tribute to the possibility of collaboration embraced authentically. Now, standing in the midst of laughter, creativity, and the joyful hum surrounding her, Emma no longer felt the shadows of doubt looming ever closer. She had conquered, she had transformed. The cafe would thrive authentically, inspiring generations. With a steady hand, she took the next step forward, ready to embrace all that awaited, eyes set on the horizon. You need to subscribe now to witness more exclusive stories of transformation and self-overcoming. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more dreamers. Comment your reactions and theories about Emma's journey. Let's chat about her powerful transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to uplift someone today.